So in this video, I will be showing you how to set up a login system for your Unity project. This is a very simple method, and for it, I will be using the authentication service KeyAuth. The link for the website will be down in the description, as well as the example. So in this video, I will actually be showing you the example that is already set up, and basically everything that you can do with it and how to set up more features if you would like to. So just to jump right into it, inside a Unity project, either if you created a new one or if you just want to start fresh with a new game, you want to come over to the link down in the description. It is the GitHub, and you just want to make sure that you have these files. If you already have your own game created, all you will need to do is come over to the scripts and just get the KeyAuth API class as well as the KeyAuth Manager class. If you are if you are starting a brand new project, then you can download all of it. Just come over to code and then download a zip. Once you have that downloaded, just make sure you extract it into your Unity project. I like to keep everything organized, so I keep all my scripts inside of a scripts folder, and then scenes inside scenes folder, and so forth. The first scene that you will see, if you did download the entire thing, is a splash screen. You do not have to worry about this. This is not really needed. This was just to make the example look a little bit better. Now, inside of the actual project itself, you will see that you will need a username and password to log in. It also has the remember me function. This is using player prefs, so it is not actually using the authentication to save the user data. And then if you need to register, for the register section, it requires a username, a password, as well as a license. In the example, I did just add a confirmed password. That's typically what I do for my projects, but it is not required for you to do so. And if you do not want your users to have a license, then you will need to purchase the seller subscription. It is $19.99 a year, but we will get more into that later into the video. After that, we just have a selection section, which again, if you're using the example, then it just tells you, how to navigate. And if you're not, then you don't need to worry about it. The user data, this will basically show all the user data for the user that is signed in. And then here you can see all the active sessions, or all the online users that are currently using the game. And then the last feature that I have set for the example is the chat room feature. So if you want to communicate with all the other users that are using it, it being your program, then you can do so. And this shouldn't say username, this should be message. But yeah, it's pretty simple. So to actually get started with it, you can either set it up however you want, or you can copy it exactly how it is, just making sure that you have all the components that you see here. Then you want to make sure that you right-click, create empty, and I named it KeyAuth Manager, but you can name it whatever you want. Once you name it KeyAuth Manager, you want to drag and drop the KeyAuth Manager script into here, and you will get all of this. And I will just show you what that is. So inside of the KeyAuth Manager, this is everything that you will need ideally. This is everything that is in the example. So the login section, you obviously need your username box, password, the toggle. I have a welcome label, again, optional but recommended to welcome your users. And then we have a public static bool to check if the user is logged in. And this is basically used to gather messages, but you can use it for a bunch of different features. For the register section, same thing. the username, password, confirm, and then the license. I have a section for the logs. The logs is optional, so you do not need it, as well as the status label. But if you would like to check the status, so to see like your current session, or to show if like the login failed or if the register failed, then you can do so as well. Here's all my panels, just so I can hide and show, based on if the user is logged in or not. The user data, we will need 2 text message pros to show the user data as well as the online users. Then everything for the chat room, we will need a chat room field, a text message pro for the messages to be displayed, and then the public float time to gather messages. So this is how long you want for each message to basically come through, like the list to update. So if you set it to a minute, then if someone sends a message, you won't get that message for a minute. So I just have it set to 10, so it's pretty rapid. Here for the chat room channel name, you will see all you have to do is enter the name of your chat room. So if you head over to the site, and here, if you create an application, you can name it whatever you want. We'll just do testing application 1, 2, 3. And if I come down here and select my testing application, come over here to chats. And then now if I click on create chat, I can enter my chat name, the cooldown that I want. So if I wanted the cooldown, every minute, then I can do so. Then I would just put 1 minute or 1 second, or whatever you want. And then after you enter your name, it will generate, and then all you have to do is enter it right here. This key code, I'm basically using it so I do not have to use a button to send the message. Rather, I can use a key code on the keyboard to send a message. In this case, it is being the enter button or return. This section right here is everything that you will need in order for your game to actually connect to KeyAuth. In order to get all of this, you head back over to the website. You can go to manage applications, and then this section right here, it's underneath the C# section. You can just go ahead and copy this and then paste it in right there. By default, again, this is how it's set, so just make sure that this is changed out. This is basically just explaining the remember me function and where it's getting saved to. On start, you want to make sure that you have KeyAuth app.init. This is making sure that it is initializing to KeyAuth. And if it is successful, then you will see that it is successfully initialized. And then you can put an else statement here showing that it failed, or you can debug the logs, however you want to set it up. So make sure that you definitely have this function inside of your start function. On update, I have the status label equaling the KeyAuth response.success. And then, and as well as in the update, I have if logged in is equal to true, then every single time I press enter, I want to send the message as well as retrieve the messages. So again, this is only happening if I am logged in. For the login function, you want to just call KeyAuth app.login, and then it tells you what it requires. It requires the username and the password. So where am I getting it from? I'm getting it from the username box as well as the login password box. And then if the response was successful, so if KeyAuth, the login was successful, then I want to have the logs show that it was successfully logged in. I want the remember me function to check if I enabled it. So if it is enabled, then I want it to remember me. The user data will basically just display everything. We'll get to that in a bit. Then I want the text to go back to null. I want the welcome and the status to go away. And then the section panel, so I want the main section of the app to appear, and then I want the login panel to go away. And then just again make sure that logged in is enabled. And again, if it's not, then I'm basically just saying that it failed and resetting the login username and password boxes. And now on the user data, these are all the options that you can use to get about your user. And again, this will only display for the user that is logged in. You're not going to see this for anyone else. So say you log in and you want to see someone else's IP, you're not going to be able to. This is basically just for you. And so here's everything that you can use. Keep in mind that any options with Unix does require you to have the Unix timestamp, and that is this section right here. So just make sure that you have this inside of your program if you want the Unix stuff to work. And again, if you do not want any of this, you can just remove it. Or if you want it to be set in different text boxes or labels, you can do so as well. And again, it's pretty self-explanatory what everything is. However, for the customer panel, this is basically so users can access certain features from a website versus trying to log in. Now onto the online users, we just create a variable, call it online users, and we do KeyAuth app.fetch online, and this is basically fetching everyone that is online, all the active sessions. So keep in mind that unless you change it in your settings for sessions to expire sooner, if a user logs in and then logs out, it will still show that they are active because the session is not expired. So again, if you want to change the session's duration, you can do so. If not, you can just leave a default, and then after so long, it will just cancel out by itself. But actually, to display the online users, we need a for each loop, and we're just having it display the user.credential, and that will be displayed inside of the user display. For the send message, all we do is if KeyAuth app.chat_send, and again, it's telling you that you need a message as well as the channel name. The channel name is what we have up top. In this case, it is testing. And now you can set this up however you want. I have it in a TextNice Pro input field. And I actually have it set up so the username shows up first, and then whatever is inside of the chat room field, the message that I want to send, and then the time that I sent it, and then I just clear the message, and then if not, then if it failed to send, then this is what happens. When it comes to retrieving the message, all that I have is a countdown, so the time to gather messages counts down from 10, and then if the time equals 0, then I want to get all of the messages. So in order for me to do that, first I want to clear all the messages. This way there aren't duplicates. And then it checks the actual channel to get the messages from. If there are no messages in there, then you can just debug no messages. However, if there are messages, then you will create a for each loop, and you will just display the message however you want. In this case, I have it showing the message author, the message, and then the timestamp that message was sent. And then after that message is sent, well, retrieved, I want to make sure that I set the time back to its original thing, which was 10. Now keep in mind that for retrieving and sending messages, they are different. Up here, you see that it is the KeyAuth user data username, chat input field, and then the Unix time to date, time date offset .now. versus the retrieve messages. This is the message author, the message.message, and then the message.timestamp. Two different things. So if you put this down here, for example, every single time a message updates, it will update the time as well. So it won't be the actual time the message was sent, versus it will actually be the time it is currently is for you. And we covered that. For the register, um, this function is completely optional. This is basically just for the confirm password, basically saying that if the password text does not equal the confirm password text, then passwords do not match. However, if they do match, then we will do KeyAuth app.register. And again, it requires the username, the password, as well as the key or the license. And here it's just explaining everything that is happening if it is successful, and then everything that is happening if it is not successful. And then down here, this is just the remember me function. Some additional options, features that you may be interested in. Webhooks. If you would like to send webhooks, say a user logs in, and you want to send that to like a Discord webhook saying like this user logged in at this time, you can do so. All you would have to do is enter the webhook ID as well as the param for that. So if you come over here and we click on webhooks and we click on create webhook, all you would do is enter the webhook endpoint, and here it's telling you exactly everything that you need to know about it. And then the user agent. Again, most cases you can just leave this default. Down here, you do have an authenticated toggle. So if you want this webhook to be gathered, if the user is logged in only, then you can do so. However, if you want the user to be able to get this without being logged in, then you can do that as well. Say like someone just activated a new session or just started your game, then you could do that as well. And then for the next one, we have download. This would be very useful if you have a DLC, additional content, anything that you really want to, that you want your user to be able to download. So you would just create a byte, name it whatever, and then we do KeyAuth app.download, and all you would have to do is put the file ID for the download here, and then here, file, write our bytes. You would put the path that you want that download to go to, and then you would just pass in the byte, which is result. And on the downloads, it's actually under files. So if you click on create files, this requires a URL. Make sure that the URL that you insert here is a direct download link and not just a link to a download page. And again, it tells you everything that it is requiring. And again, you can do the same thing if you want the user to get it while logged in or if they're not logged in. And again, once you enter a link here and click add, the file ID will pop up right underneath this section. So you can just go ahead and copy that and paste it in right here. For the variables, if you have a certain variable assigned to a user and you would like it to display, then you can do so as well. You just come over here to the variable section, create variable, and then this will be the name of the variable and then the data. And again, it's showing you get the string from the KeyAuth server where it's more secure. So, if you want to display like how many points a user has, but you don't want it to actually say like points, you can basically encode it almost. So it's showing a different text than what will actually be displayed. For the check blacklist, you do have the ability to blacklist someone via hardware ID or IP. So if you do So say a user messes something up, tries to cheat in your game, or whatever the case may be, you can blacklist the user, and anytime that user starts up your game and tries to register a new account or log into an existing account, it will check if that hardware ID or IP is blacklisted, and if it is, then it will not allow that user to create or log in to an account, which is pretty useful, especially to stop cheaters. Um, for the checking of the session, if you would like to check your session status, you can do so. Say you were logged in for 24 hours and your duration is only set to 8 hours. You can use this basically to automatically log you out, um, or just to have a warning pop up saying, hey, your session expired, you were logged out, would you like to log back in, or anything that you would like. For the upgrading, if you would like to upgrade your user, say that you have a paid DLC or some limited time options um, for your game, and you only want the user to be able to use this during a certain time period. You can upgrade the user um, so they have that subscription that you assign to them. And then as soon as the duration ends, you can just set them back to their original subscription or remove the actual asset from the section itself. Um, for the logs, um, on the KeyAuth site itself, if you want to retrieve logs from a user, so say a user gets a high score or logs in or tries to cheat or whatever, you can add this log system. So you can basically add this wherever you want to. Um, all you would need to do, so like you can add this right after successful login, and you could just do kiosk app.log, the user successfully logged in. Again, you can basically do whatever you want with it. The last feature we will be covering is the login or register with a license only. So say you do not want the user to have a username or password, and you only want the user to log in with a license. Then you can do that as well. All you would do, instead of setting up the username and password box, you would just set up one box, call it license, and then you would give a license to that user and they would enter it, and that would be what they would use to register for the first time as well as log in every future time. And I'm pretty sure that's all that I have to cover for the actual example part. In the KeyAuth API class, if anyone was wondering, this is basically the entire API, and this is everything that you will need to basically have the app running properly. You can go through it if you want and change a few things if you would like. You can change the time duration for the app to quit if it was set up incorrectly, or basically anything. Again, just go through it. If you see something that you think could be different, go ahead and change it. If something does break, I recommend changing it back though, because it is set up the way it is for it to actually work. Currently, this does work in mono. I have not tested it out in IO2CPP or in any other builds, being iPhone, Android, or anything else, but it does work 100% for mono in Windows. So if you go ahead and you test it out in another build platform and it does not work, just comment down below and I will try to make one work for your selected platform. Another thing I did want to talk about, the register section. you will see, again, if you do not want a license, I was telling you that you will need the seller subscription, which is only $19.99 a year. So if you only want your users to have a username and a password, then you can do that and not have a license. And if you do need help with anything, or you need better understanding of how to set things up, you can head over to docs.keyauth.cc, and it basically shows everything that you will need. And I did cover everything except for the actual variables. I covered the user variables, but I did not actually cover the public variables. But yeah, and then if you come down to seller, if you do decide to purchase, you can do even more features. So say in chat, you can actually create chat channels from your game, delete them, edit, clear. You can mute users, unmute users, and then you can just do so much more if you actually have the seller subscription versus having the default subscription. But hopefully this covered everything. I don't think I missed anything for the actual example itself. If you think I did miss something or you need assistance with anything, just comment down below and we will get back to you. Or join the Discord. The link will be down in the description as well. I did try to make this video as short as possible, but I did want to try and cover everything just so there wasn't any confusion. And I do feel like if I did go through and set it up step by step, it would have been a much longer video. But I think me going through it and explaining everything is pretty well. One more thing that I almost did forget, make sure that your login button to actually log in, come down on your login button, and on your on-click event, make sure you drag in your KeyAuth manager and then find your login, and then do the same thing for the register. And this is all that the example basically needs a function for, is login and register. And then other than that, that's pretty much it. So again, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy the video.